Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with RareGem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield, Director of Entrepreneur Development Services at the Center for Emerging Technologies.
And hello again.
Hi.
I'm Cheryl Watkins-Moore with BioSTL, Director of the Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion Initiative. Hey, Christy.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I am well and excited to be here.
Yes.
As you know, if you've been listening to us on a regular basis or you're tuning in for the first time, we are stepping out of our comfort zone and we want you to do the same. So come join us and think about your business in new ways. We want to take the constraints off of how you view your current and future endeavors. You can join and stay in touch with the Entrepreneurially Thinking community on all your favorite online streaming platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or by visiting our website at entrepreneuriallythinking.com and following on the hashtag ETHINKSTL.
Well, today we have an interesting conversation about entrepreneurship in healthcare. We're going to be speaking with two providers here in our region. One, Sonia Deal, who is CEO of Deal C2, a new venture in our region focused on diabetes care. Deal C2 provides quality, specialized diabetes care, treatment, and education in the homes and communities of diabetics and pre-diabetics in our region. Sonia's building a 3-phase system for diabetes care that would include community education and home care, a diabetes care clinic, and a skilled nursing home focused on diabetes. Her goal is to change the face of diabetes care. This is such an important topic. So happy to have Sonia here. And also, we are joined by Dr. Edgar Everett of Proficient Chiropractic. Their mission is not only to be the number one in chiropractic care, but to utilize their practice to unite and heal the Black community. We are so excited to have both of these entrepreneurs here, and we will talk to them very shortly when we get back.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
Here are the top 5 things that keep most people from achieving real success. Number 1, the fear of failure or loss, not wanting to be a risk taker. Number 2, quick to quit, gave up too fast, lacked what I call stick-to-itness. 3, failed to do homework, did not do enough research on the project, or really didn't have your heart into it, wasn't passionate about it. 4, never possessed the skill set for the business or job, need more knowledge and information. And finally, allowed others to discourage you and make you doubt yourself and what you're doing. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
I'm Dr. Edgar Everett from Proficient Chiropractic here in St. Louis, Missouri. And thinking entrepreneurially to me means constantly paying attention to your business and making sure that as your business changes, that you pivot and make moves as things change.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We've got a great show for you today. Let's start with Sonia. You decided to launch this new venture. Tell us why.
Oh, gosh. I was a director of nursing in a nursing home, and I went to a diabetes seminar. And after leaving that diabetes seminar, I heard a voice from God saying that you'll be opening a freestanding diabetes center. So I went from there, did education, research in diabetes, and called the American Diabetes Association and found out that there is not a freestanding diabetes clinic anywhere in Missouri.
Really?
No, not one.
They exist other places in the country?
Only a few.
Okay.
Only
so very
few.
rare.
So it is very rare. After that, I went back on active duty. And while I was on active duty, I did more research and helped with the diabetes clinic at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii.
Okay.
Well, we're going to stop there because you have to tell us about your background.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to back up. There's a lot going on here.
Let's backtrack.
Okay. So my background, I am a registered nurse, been a registered nurse since 1999. I've worked in several different areas, orthopedics, administration. I've been in administration for over 14 years now. I have worked in nursing homes, so geriatrics for the last probably 10 or so years has been where I've been working. Currently, I'm actually in primary care at ETHINKSTL-018-Healthcare. I'm the director of practice transformation, so I am in charge of the patient-centered medical home and case management for those patients. I'm in charge of our chronic disease department, and I just inherited a new department, maternal child. So
you are busy.
Very.
You are very busy. So Sonia, you were in the military, right?
Yes, I still am in the military.
Ah, okay.
I'm still in. Right now I'm on IRR, which it means that I have the option to drill, but I don't have to.
Okay.
What branch?
Army.
Go Army.
There you are.
Excellent. Army Navy games coming up. I know this because my husband roots for Navy. Other than that, I have no idea what's going on in football or military. So
That's very interesting. So your background, you were in the military, you're a nurse, you still have your job while you are building your venture?
Absolutely.
And that's what we try to tell our listeners. You don't have to leave everything that you're doing right now to get started. But, once someone who is actively into their new venture is Dr. Everett. Tell us about your background, the origin of your company, and the mission of your practice.
Well, I got into chiropractic. It wasn't real altruistic. It was when I was in high school. I met a chiropractor. I was visiting the office, and I met a chiropractor, and he told me he was going to China for a month.
wow.
And right then and there, I was like, "This is what I want to do."
Really?
Yeah.
You're
if you
not
can
the
travel
first
for a
person
month,
I've heard that
if you
from.
can leave your job for 30 days,
Exactly.
I was like, this is what I want to
Exactly.
do. But when I got into, so I made that decision then. But when I got into undergrad, I started to work for a chiropractor. That's when I really started to realize that this was my calling. This was something that was really meant for me, and this is where I was supposed to be. So from undergrad, I went into chiropractic school. I went to Logan College of Chiropractic here in St. Louis.
That's right here, yeah.
And from there, I worked in a chiropractor's office for about almost a year, and I
Okay.
realized very quickly that wasn't a good fit for me. Even though I was my own business inside his business, it just kind of stifled me. I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do, so I just kind of scraped together all the money that I had and opened a practice.
So you knew you had your own entrepreneurial sites when you were inside of a practice already.
Mostly, I just didn't like being told what to do.
Independent spirit. That's something that tends to run
Exactly.
through our entrepreneurs' experience as well.
I was going to say many of our listeners are out there in corporate and
Right,
can
right.
relate to the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's no other option for me if I wanted to make a living. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so from there, I was in practice for almost a year, and then my partner, Dr. Xavier Tippler, came on with me, and we've been together ever since, almost 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is exciting. So where are you located?
We're on Woodson Road. It's 2050 Woodson Road in Overland, right near Page and 170. And then our second location is over in Fairview Heights, Illinois. It's 10251 Lincoln Trail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. Yes.
What I've been struck by is that both of our guests today have seen healthcare not only as a path for their own personal fulfillment, but also as a way of really supporting their community. I know that Dr. Everett will talk a little bit more about his mission in just a moment, but diabetes is something that affects a wide range of people, but disproportionately African Americans, particularly in St. Louis.
Right.
So God speaking to you on that particular topic means that you're actually really aligned with a primary chronic disease in our community that affects change. And Dr. Everett, I know that looking at your website, you've been really very purposeful in wanting to support the African American community and really not just be a physician who's making sure that he can take a month off and travel the world.
It changed.
Which is not a problem.
Right.
I highly encourage that. But you've been really explicit, you and your partner have been really explicit about wanting to be embedded in your community. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have been. To be honest, it was something that we had to grow into and be more comfortable with. Because just to, as a business, to get out and say that, I'm working with the Black community can be a little scary,
right?
Because it seems like you're excluding people. And what we had to learn was only about 2% of African Americans have ever even been to a chiropractor.
Wow.
So we're not actually excluding people, we're including people.
And you're raising awareness now, too, about the opportunity to engage with a chiropractor.
Exactly. So what we found is when we focused our message, people really got it. People understood that we were there for them, that we were looking for them, we were there to help them, and we wanted to be embedded in our community. It was something that was important to us. So everything that we do is centered around that.
So, like what? Give us examples of what do you do that's centered in the African American community? Are you guys in schools? Or are you
most of our education is centered around churches. We do a lot of education in churches because that's where we congregate, right? Yeah. That's where most of us are. At least that's where the source is, and the source is usually the mom or the grandmother. And they're usually at church. So what we found is that if we're able to get into churches and begin to educate them about what we do as chiropractors and how chiropractic can help them, that can spread out to their families.
Yes.
So we get mom or grandmother in, and then we can get husband and grandfather and son and daughter. We can get the rest of the family into our practice. So when you come in our practices, there's a lot of older ladies. Yeah.
Well, this research has shown that women are the ones that dictate healthcare and choice of healthcare for many families. So
I was going to say they're the influencers.
Absolutely.
And we talk often about knowing your market and knowing how to get to the client and the customer you're seeking. You very clearly identified who's making those decisions.
Yes.
Essentially a payer source in some regards.
That's right.
Or a lovely older woman, however you would like to look at that.
That's right.
So, Sonia, Deal C2, it's a unique name. How did you develop that name?
So I wanted to definitely, while I was thinking about the community, I also wanted to focus my endeavors on building something for my children to have for future generations. So I wanted something that included my name. My namesake. So Diabetes Education Augmenting Lifestyles Center and Clinic is actually what Deal C2 means.
I thought it was your last name.
It is my last name.
And more.
Absolutely. So, I met you last year, Sonia, while you were involved in MasterCard's Catapult competition.
Yes.
MasterCard has this very interesting competition. I think now they're hosting it annually.
Yes.
Where they come up with, 5 or 10 finalists. You put your video out there where they have an opportunity to look at the type of venture that you're developing. They select maybe 5 to 10 finalists.
Last year it was 4.
4, okay. 4
Even
finalists.
stiffer competition.
Yeah. And the whole focus is to select at the end of this competition one woman to help her propel her idea, her company, or her community to a new frontier. And with that, they provide mentoring, financial support, as well as technical support. Tell us about your experience with this competition and how it impacted your business, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So, yes, the Catapult competition through the St. Louis Business Journal was definitely a starting point. We had to submit a 1-minute video pitch.
Which is challenging.
It is, especially when you're looking at yourself.
I understand. I have to always prepare myself before listening to myself. So I think there's a corollary.
So we submit a 1-minute pitch to YouTube. It's uploaded to YouTube, and people go out and they vote, and the finalist is chosen by a group of judges from MasterCard and St. Louis Business Journal.
Fantastic.
And so from out of 140 plus uploads, 4 finalists were chosen, and I was one of the 4.
Congratulations.
That's great.
Yes.
And from that 4, for 3 months, we had pitch training. We had a group of individuals. Cheryl Watkins Moore was one of my mentors.
Fantastic.
With BioSTL and BioGenerator. So we would meet and we would talk about my business plan. We talked about the things that were most important to me, which was one of marketing and the financial structure of my business. I knew what I wanted to do, but having a platform and having a financial structure that was a strong foundation was important for me. So we talked about that, and then we got ready for our pitch. So I I am a nervous Nelly.
She did fantastic.
And so I promise you that day, so we had to actually do a 60-second pitch to the St. Louis Business Journal's Women's Conference in January.
And that was
just a
over
small audience.
About 1,000 plus people.
Yeah. Intimate friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was a time, but when I looked out into the audience, I saw little specks of light, and I promise you the Lord took over because
whatever it takes, everything and all.
Because I knew I spoke with conviction. I knew that, but I promise you it was the good Lord because I was nervous. And from there, the audience voted for the winner. And luckily, we actually were all blessed that day because we all received help, technical support, as well as other things from MasterCard.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That is wonderful. Tell us a little bit about Deal C2, what you're working on.
Our focus is really the community outreach and education portion.
It's really wonderful that you're able to dovetail what you're doing in your day job, so to speak.
Absolutely.
With building this aspiration out, having the support of many different constituents, whether that's your employer, you mentioned the insurance company, the competition, Cheryl, other mentors.
Right.
It's sort of the best of all worlds when you can do that.
It is. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't a conflict of interest. So I did speak with my CEO and my COO, and both of those individuals were very supportive in making sure that we, went forward because it's going to impact their quality measures as well. So although
win-win.
It's exactly, it's a win-win for the organization, for the patients, for the community at large.
I think since this type of structure doesn't exist anywhere in the region, you're sitting in a very, very nice spot. And to have, like you said, these other healthcare organizations responding that way, it's a very, very nice opportunity.
And it reminds me of our interview with Steve Epner, where he emphasized, if you're going to be entrepreneurial in your own company and someone's company, you really do need the endorsement of senior leadership.
Absolutely.
To be able to be really effective in that place, but also being very clear on, what you're bringing to the table for them and potentially what you're building out for yourself. So, living example of how to be entrepreneurial within a corporation.
Absolutely.
I love it. And I know Dr. Everett's experience, obviously different. You knew really early on in your career that you were going to be a business owner, but you didn't necessarily have a entrepreneur ecosystem, a competition, or those kind of mentors. So we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to just talk to you about going into that endeavor in a different way.
Meet the ambassadors.
I hope that my involvement and Just Alive and Well would bring more awareness to the issue of people we come in contact every day that may look fine on the outside. They may be smiling, but deep down inside, they may be dealing with some issues around trauma.
If you're interested in being a part of Alive and Well STL and helping continue the conversation, please take 5. Log on to aliveandwellstl.com.
I am Sonia Deal from St. Louis, Missouri, CEO and founder of Deal C2. And thinking entrepreneurially to me means that you take a vision and you actually put it into action.
Dr. Everett, I talk with a lot of entrepreneurs who come from what I would call a technical background. They're either in the lab or they're in a medical setting. They're in engineers, those kinds of things. PhDs. They are experts in their area. They don't generally know a whole lot about business.
Right.
And I would say the same thing for the artists I talk to. They are wonderful at creating their art. They didn't necessarily receive any formal training in business and how to make money off of their craft. So what was your experience in sort of making that leap from knowing you're a proficient, well-trained, highly educated chiropractor to doing that as a business?
Chiropractic is just like any other business. As the failure rate is very high, and so fear was the main motivator.
That's a good motivator, isn't it?
It made us work really, really hard. So we outworked our mistakes, I like to say. So we continue to we made just as many mistakes as I think anybody could.
Can you please speak to that? Because I think a lot of our listeners think, oh my God, if I fail, I'm doomed.
Right. Right. I really do believe that that hard work matters. And hard work can compensate for some of your shortcomings. And so if you're able to grow a business, to work hard and to grow a business to a certain point, when you have failures and you have problems, it doesn't shut your doors. And we had a lot of that in the beginning is, we worked really, really hard and made a lot of mistakes, but we were able to keep going because of that hard work. We do a lot of outreach, like I said, where we work with churches and health fairs and things like that. And in our first year, in 52 weeks, we did 56 events.
Wow.
Wow. That's literally more events than there was time for.
Right. So there was 3 or 4 in certain weekends.
So you're not focusing on your business then.
Right. Exactly. We were really, really focused on growth. And then once we got to a certain point where we had, practice members coming into our office and we had people that we were taking care of, then we shifted and started to really think about how to run this thing. We got people here and now we need to really figure out how to make this work. So that we're not killing ourselves for the next 30 years.
Right.
So that's really how it happened.
What were some of the things you learned about making it work?
I was just getting ready to say that. What were some of the stories that occurred?
Well, we learned that we had to be more efficient about the events that we chose. We did literally everything.
So more targeted in your marketing.
More targeted in our marketing, which is part of where our values grew from. We had to begin to train our staff properly, which we hadn't really done. We trained them to do the job, but not to be proficient at the job, not to be good at the job.
Right. And those standard operating procedures are what can make or break you.
Exactly.
If everybody's doing it their own way.
Exactly. We didn't have a manual. We didn't have a manual, so we sat down together over a lot of months and wrote our manual for our office.
Fantastic.
So if one person leaves, the knowledge doesn't go with them.
Right. Step by step for everything. Right down from answering the phone to how you communicate with our practice members. It's all there in our manual. So that was something we took a lot of time to do. Our processes and procedures, how people move. If you come into our office, there's a lot of people there, but how they move in and out of the office is something that took us a couple of years to figure out, and now it's smooth.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we started to look at each piece and dive into each piece and figure out the best way to make those work, which is still a work in progress. We're upgrading things all the time and changing things all the time.
But I think what's very interesting, you can tell the difference between someone who invests in their people, in their business, no matter what it is, because that will certainly turn me away. If somebody is, if I walk into an organization and they don't know what's going on or the place is in chaos, that's a sure way of I'm not coming back. Right. And I think in healthcare especially, you have to know how to treat your patients, and you want your front office staff to be an extension of you. So I think that's a great opportunity for most people to understand. You've got to be able to put those SOPs in place. Yeah. Standard operating procedures in place.
One of our coaches introduced us to the idea of what he called patientology, and that is turning things around and looking at it from a patient's perspective. So right down to walking in the front door and looking at what it is they see when they first walk into the office, what their experience is like with our front desk, coming back. That's how we kind of built the floor of our office. How we put together our report of findings is where we sit down and talk to our practice members about what's going on with them. We did it from both angles.
As a patient.
And as a patient.
Customer viewpoint. Absolutely. From a marketing term.
All the way down to our music. Our music is something that is really, really important to our office too, because those things, healing for one, but you want to create an environment, the color on the walls, the literature hanging up, the posters on the walls, all those things we looked at from the patient's perspective.
I was just going to say, I heard the word coach, and so I wanted to just delve in. So how did you find your coach? Who are you working with?
Well, about 3 years into practice, that's when like I said, we realized that, hey, we need to figure out how to make this, this thing work. Even though we were doing kind of well financially, we needed to figure out how to make we knew we couldn't maintain it.
Because you had competition out there, right?
Yeah. Not only that, we were exhausted.
Yeah, totally.
We were exhausted. And so we got our first coach, and he really helped us to learn chiropractic from a philosophical standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, which we really needed. That filled that area of our practice. Then we shifted from there into a coach that was more business minded. He helped us divide our practice up into departments and organize things, and that's where we wrote our manual and all those things. So we've had a couple of coaches along the way, depending on what it is we needed.
I think it's so smart that you guys, as two business owners, because a lot of times people don't want to go outside because it's like, oh, we can do all of this. We got it. We can handle all of this.
It's crazy.
I think you were open-minded enough to understand, like with most business ventures, you need an advisory board. You need people that can give you feedback that you trust and will help your business grow. So how did you identify the coaches? Are they chiropractors as well? Or
Yeah, they are. They are
Okay.
chiropractors as well. Chiropractors who have been doing it for a really long time. So they have a lot of experience. There's nothing new. And I think a lot of times people think that there's a bunch of new stuff and they're going to discover some things in business that haven't been done before. And those principles have always existed. We just needed to figure out what they were.
So they were willing to come in. Did they have existing practices? Was it competitive for them? Or?
One of our coaches has been practicing for over 30 years, and he had a huge practice, the biggest one in the country, actually. So he was our first coach, and he coached us on, like I said, the philosophy and the spirituality of chiropractic and what it really means to be a chiropractor. The second coach also had a couple of really big practices, but he looked at it much more from a business standpoint. Which was what we needed at the time. Once we got the energy and the fire and the passion, we needed somebody to get us organized.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
And Sonia's really early in her journey. So I think reflecting, there's a lot of head nodding going on in the studio today. And we talked a bit about how you're building out your business idea, Sonia, within the context of your day job. Yes. But who have you been drawing on to really help you think big about how you actually take this outside the current setting and turn it into the vision that you have?
So actually, with the catapult competition, I was blessed to have a team of individuals who mentored me, which Dr. Watkins Moore was on that team, Colleen and a number of others.
Staff,
so the BioSTL, BioGenerator staff, those taking a look at the business plan and really getting that feedback. Okay, when we met, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What are you going to do? How are you going to make money? What are you going to be your revenue streams? You need to diversify. All of those things came up. And so it really made me think, okay, I really need to go back and tweak some things in regards to, like I said, revenue streams. I thought, okay, I know grants is not going to always be the way. So how are we going to make money beyond grants? How are we going? Because I don't want to have a grant focused outreach organization, because when those monies dry up or when they are no longer there, then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So you need something that's going to be sustainable and still be able to accomplish the mission.
And one of the things we're always talking about is, regardless of your tax structure, just, whether you're setting yourself up as an LLC, a nonprofit, a C Corp, how you're making the money is the first question you've got to answer.
Absolutely.
And that sustainability piece is incredibly important. We're actually going to do a show on that pretty soon. So I think those are important things for folks to think about, particularly when they're in a mission-oriented, because very clearly Dr. Everett's practice has a mission orientation and a for-profit tax structure.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
And so this is one of the things we like to remind our listeners of. Simply because the vision you have for the world is embedded in the work you're doing every day doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be a nonprofit. It does mean you have to figure out how to have a profit.
Right.
Right.
But there's lots of ways to go about changing your world.
Absolutely. And I think what's interesting is we talked a lot about with Sonia's venture is staging. How do you move through your vision, through the different stages of your vision? And I know, Dr. Everett, you talked about, you guys have recently grown. What's your vision? I mean, you're now in a new, another location, but what's your ultimate vision? Are you guys looking to expand even further? Is this a nationwide venture or what?
It is something that we're working on right now. Like I said, we're constantly growing and changing. And one of the things we're focusing on now is how to build a business that we don't have to be in every single day and for it to still be successful. So that's one of the things we're really kind of digging into right now. And as we begin to really figure that out, I think that's when we'll begin to grow, because our goal is really to spread chiropractic to the African American community as much as we possibly can. So wherever that leads us is where we'll go. We do know that we will be adding additional practices here in St. Louis for sure.
So you're looking to bring on additional chiropractors too as well?
We currently have 3 that work with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they definitely are.
That's great. That's expanding your vision there. Wow. So, Sonia, when we talked about your different stages, we know you're not starting with the skilled nursing center.
Absolutely not. Although I do have experience in the area, no.
That would be biting off a little bit more than she
Just a little,
Right,
yeah.
Right. That really is, my 1, 3, 5, 7, 10-year plan.
You got to have a
All
vision,
in
though,
one.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
You talked about BioGenerator and BioSTL. Have you had an opportunity to engage with other resource organizations that's here in our region, and how have they helped build your vision and your business?
Absolutely. Actually, with BioGenerator and BioSTL, the team of mentors gave me insight on getting into other competitions. So I went for the Balsa Foundation grant, and again, it was something that you had to submit a little bit about your organization, and I was a semi-finalist with the Balsa Foundation, and
Congrats.
and then a finalist with the Balsa Foundation. So they have seed money that they give out, and then they also have a team of individuals that they work with, and those individuals, there's attorneys, there's marketing personnel, there's the gamut. They just had a networking event a couple weeks ago where that was one of the things in our class. We asked, could we have something on networking? Because I consider myself to be a social butterfly at times, but not all the time. So I know that the networking piece for me was going to be important. And so those types of things, I was able to gain that knowledge from the Balsa Foundation. And I also have other coaches that I currently work with. I call them more mentors for me. One is she's been in administration for over 20 years, and she's very insightful. Although she does not have her own business, she has ran businesses and she has started businesses. So.
Interesting. So you guys are in different stages of entrepreneurship, but I hear some threads of the same thing going through here, mentoring, coaching, staging your business. What advice would you give, Dr. Everett? You've been out there a little bit longer than Sonia. For someone considering maybe starting a service professional business like yourself, what should they be thinking about if they're either coming out of school? Because I remember coming out of medical school and they don't teach you business.
No, they don't.
And now a lot of medical professionals, you don't come out starting your own practice because you're in debt so much you have to be on staff somewhere. So what type of advice would you guys give to the folks who are contemplating?
I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to decide whether or not you're willing to work hard enough.
Absolutely.
And be honest with yourself. I think that's the first thing you have to do, is be honest with yourself, because you can still be an entrepreneur and know that you don't really want to work hard. You just have to build a model that supports that.
Exactly.
You just have to build something that supports that.
And I think those are often called lifestyle businesses.
Right.
If you're comfortable getting to a certain lifestyle for yourself, that's great. If you want to scale a company, that looks different.
Exactly. You really have to understand that. So being able to sit down and work through what it is that you really want, to really look at what it is you want personally first, and then apply that to your business, I think is really, really important. Because like you said, if you want to have a family, there's some things that go along with having a family. If that's not something you're interested in, if you want $1 billion, then there's some things that you have to do in order to get that.
A little bit different.
It's a little bit different.
And motivations change over time.
Exactly.
I mean, being inspired by the idea of, wow, there's this thing I could do in the world that might give me the opportunity to really have flexibility to travel and see the world.
Exactly.
Inspired you initially.
Right.
You very clearly are inspired by other things today.
Right.
So
You
drawing
have to know
on
that
that
first. You got to know that first, I think. Yeah, that's the main thing. And then from there, you can decide. You can make a lot of decisions based on that.
Wow. So I'm just at awe because you found your calling in high school. A lot of times we don't find our calling until...
I'm still looking for my calling. Right now I'm trying on podcasts. I'm not sure if it's
and I'm right
the
there
right
with you.
But
oh my gosh.
And Sonia, for you, what advice would you give to folks who are aspiring to create something in their own?
So having a support team, having a very strong support team is very important. I had to learn that I could not do it all on my own. And that was something that beat me over the head a couple years. You can't do it by yourself. So just 2016, 2015, I really started building a strong team.
And I would imagine once you came to terms with that, momentum started too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's actual strength and energy that's derived from working with others.
Absolutely.
And it's really, we encourage everybody. You need a team.
I think
it takes a village.
Absolutely.
It's not a solo sport. All those things.
Absolutely.
And not only that, I think one of the things that's come through clearly is we have a community here in our St. Louis region that both of you guys have spoken to. You know, not only community where you can provide a service to, but community of mentors that you reached out to that helped build your business. Sonia, you reached out to our community here, you know, building your business from competitions.
Absolutely.
So I think when you look at the St. Louis region and the opportunities that are available here, there's such a wide range of organizations that can help an individual look to build their company, fund their company, be a resource for their organization. So I know, Dr. Everett, you talked about, you started with, you know, the community was your big source, and you guys are doing these 56 events. Are you guys doing things differently with these community events? How have you tailored them? They're still your big source of customers or patients?
Community-based is where our marketing plan sits mostly. But we are starting to branch out and add some more things because we realize that things are changing and the way people communicate is changing. So we're definitely now digging into social media.
I was going to say, social media is
to be honest, we had to be pushed into it because we spent so much time in this area and we were able to be successful in a different area. To be able to add social media on top of that. And I think a lot of times people try to rely on social media to build a business, and I don't think it's at that point yet for most businesses.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at partnerships with other service providers so that you can leverage, you know, the gifts and the distinct advantages that you can both bring?
We're growing more into wellness. So we're adding partnerships with nutritionists, physical therapists, fitness trainers,
diabetes
care.
And I was actually thinking about our patients, the patients that we see. You know, we service the underserved populations.
So we're taking care of a lot of the same people. So that
Fantastic.
overlap is really important.
So remind us again, Dr. Everett, where we can find you, where our listeners can find you.
So it's Proficient Chiropractic. We're located at 2050 Woodson Road in St. Louis, Missouri, and also 10251 Lincoln Trail in Fairview Heights, Illinois. But you can get all our information at proficientchiropractic.com.
There you go.
Fantastic.
There you go.
And Sonia, for people who are interested in the venture you're building and want to learn more about how they could be involved, is there an email address, a website, or something?
There is a website, deal-c2.org.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us, for helping us explore the gamut of entrepreneurship within healthcare. And everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.